Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Duality9xers. I got a special treat for you guys today. I'm going to be doing a video review on Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is one of the latest from the Marvel series, and I've got some opinions on it, and I want to talk about it. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to review it yourself or not. If you haven't, watch it. But I'm gonna give you my honest opinion on this movie. And what I want to do before I get into my opinions on the movie, I'm gonna just kind of talk a little bit about. I'm gonna go over kind of the nuts and bolts, and we're gonna start off at the cast. And obviously, as you're aware, the film itself assembles a very diverse group of characters from both familiar and new with the Marvel Cinematic Series. So for some of you may know some of these actors, and some of you may not. And it's interesting because I talked to a few other people who love watching the Marvel Avengers movies, but when they watch Thunderbolts, they're like, "Huh? Who the heck are these guys?" I mean, they recognize like Sebastian Stan, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, but for some of these other characters, they were kind of oblivious, right? So let's just talk a little bit about the cast. Florence Pugh, she actually stars as Yelena Belova, who is one of the central characters in the movie. And in the movie itself, you'll notice there's a younger there's a younger actress who plays Yelena, during the flashback sequences, and her name is Violet McGraw, and she did an amazing job. Very, very good acting. This movie actually brings about a lot of different kinds of opinions. There's people who have positive reviews. There's people who have negative comments about it. I actually enjoyed the acting. I think the acting was like on par, and it was great. Contrary to a lot of things that I'm reading, but I don't want to get off a track here. So we talked about Florence Pugh, who is playing the character of Yelena Belova, and Sebastian Stan, as you're aware, who plays Bucky Barnes, also aka the Winter Soldier. We got David Harbour. He plays the Red Guardian. David's amazing. He really brings about. It's you have to watch his character. He's very entertaining. He can be real. I think he was the perfect character to play the Red Guardian. We got Julia Louise Dreyfus as she plays Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, who is kind of like a U.S. agent in the film. Hannah John Kamen as Ghost. Olga Kurylenko as Taskmaster, and very interesting, Lewis Pullman as Robert Bob Reynolds, also aka the Century. Now, this was really interesting. Lewis Pullman, when I was first watching this film and I saw his character, I really didn't know what we were gonna get from this guy. Um, he goes by Bob. They refer to him as Bob in the movie, and I'm like, does this guy have any superpowers? Does he have any kind of special abilities, capabilities? Like, who is this guy? Who is this Bob guy? And I was a little worried that he might actually drag the movie down, but boy, was I wrong. And Lewis Pullman did a phenomenal job playing the role of this character that we know as Bob, but we also know on the grander scheme of things as Century. Now, fun fact: Stephen Yen was actually originally cast to play this role, but unfortunately had some scheduling conflicts, and Lewis Pullman came in to fill the void. No pun intended. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, or maybe you do, watch the movie, The Void. Anyhow, Also, Florence Pugh, she did a very daring stunt. Apparently, she performed her own kind of jump from the Merdeka 118. It actually is one of the world's second tallest, or sorry, the world's second tallest building, without a stunt double, and it actually resulted in a beautiful, breathtaking scene. You guys have, you, there's so much to there's so much to disseminate here. This movie brings about, I mean, it has all elements, like everything that you want in a movie, but it's a little different than the regular kind of Marvel Avenger type movies that you watch. And you know what? I'm kind of happy it was a little bit different. You know, there's a lot of people who I've been hearing who watched the movie were a little disappointed because it wasn't more of the same. Well, why do you want more of the same? Don't you want something a little bit different? So, anyways, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But yeah, Florence Pugh did an amazing job. I mean, I love it when actors they do their own stunts, and I love how they're willing to push those boundaries. And now not every actor is capable of being able to do that, and we know Tom Cruise, yeah, Jackie Chan, like there's a Bruce Lee. There's so many actors who want to do their own stunts because they have this visual, they have this idea of how they want that scene to play out. So anytime an actress has the ability to be able to do that and perform their own stunts, it's an absolute treat. I believe Eddie Murphy too. I think did a lot of his own stunts. That said, let's talk a little bit about Lewis Pullman's character, Bob, also known as Century. Again, for for Stephen Yen, who had originally been casted to do this film, and then because of unfortunate scheduling conflicts, and then they had to bring Lewis Pullman in, or who Lewis Pullman came in, and he was selected to take that role. Um, you know, that's not an easy task. Like when when the team has the vision of having a particular individual to play a certain character or role, and then for that to not play out, that's like probably one of the biggest nightmares a director and a team can face, because now all of a sudden now you have to cast for this role, and you got to start from scratch. But meanwhile, while you're casting for this role, you're thinking about the original character that you wanted to play this role, and now you have new people who are trying to audition for this role, but you're still thinking about the other individual, and now you're comparing the new person to the original person. It becomes a big it's one of the biggest things that directors and movie producers hate to encounter. It's kind of like if you guys watch like mixed martial arts, if you guys watch any fighting like UFC, even boxing, but it happens in UFC a little bit more often, where unfortunately due to unforeseen circumstances sometimes the fighter can't, he won't be able to fight on a particular card or date, and then they have to go and find another fighter. And sometimes that could be short notice. That could be a matter of months. It could be a matter of weeks. And all of a sudden now this fighter has to come in, and he has to adjust his training regimen and everything, just so that he can, meet the obligations and requirements to be able to facilitate or that fight. But with acting, it's a little bit different, right? I mean, with acting, it's, you want the right kind of person. And again, when you have somebody already in mind to play a particular part or role, and then to find out later that that's not going to happen, it's tough. It's really tough. But I think the directors here, and I think the producers, the team did a phenomenal job at bringing Lewis Pullman in. He did great. You guys got to watch his character. You guys got to watch this movie. If you haven't watched it already, watch this movie. And I think I'm already giving away my opinions too early here, but the post-credit scenes are starting to become a bit of a thing as of late, right? Before, when we used to watch movies, that's it, we're out. As soon as the credits start rolling, we're gone. We're already at the theater. We're already out in the parking lot and in the car, and off we go. Marvel has started to kind of bring about that excitement where they keep people in their seats all the way to the end of the credits and longer. Why? Because of these amazing little snippets, um, you know, little video clips to kind of give you a sneak peek into, what's coming. And so this movie actually has one of the longest post-credit scenes in, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, you you will get some nuggets out of it. There, and it's amazing how the producers and how the movie production crew kind of, they know exactly how much to give you and how much to and what exactly to show you, enough for it to elicit debates and conversations, and just to keep you incentivized wanting to watch the next films. It's absolutely incredible. So this film does, as I mentioned, features one of the longest post-credit scenes in Marvel Cinematic Universe. It with the nuggets that you're going to see and be witness to, I think it's going to bring about, I'm not going to say controversy, but it's going to definitely bring about, you're going to start to ask yourself questions. You're going to start to wonder, okay, what's going to happen now, and how do things unfold? But we're talking about a whole 2 minutes, and I think it was 2 minutes and 54 seconds, just under 3 minutes. And the narratives that you're going to be privy to will definitely start to shape your understanding and views in preparation for the upcoming movies. And it's exciting. Marvel is on a trajectory of excitement. I'm telling you, the stuff that's coming down the pipeline, it's absolutely incredible. I can't wait. To see some of these newer movies. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people still unsure about who these guys are. Who are these, cast members for Thunderbolt? What is Thunderbolt? Or like, what is this group? This ragtag group of mercenary superhero likes, and what are their purpose? What are they doing? But they definitely pay homage to the classic Avengers, which is really nice. And so obviously the film includes very subtle nods to the original Avengers, such as like the Battle of New York. You remember that scene, and the original Avengers, like the logo, and so anyhow, there is actually quite a bit of cross reference and homage that they pay to the original Avengers. So I'm excited to kind of see where this goes. The film script apparently went under some heavy significant changes, and kind of, it was inspired by this kind of like Die Hard, kind of character driven, kind of reminiscent of like The Breakfast Club. The director himself, Jake Schreier, I think he did a really good job in being able to encapsulate a lot of different elements. And just kind of, I think one of the biggest challenges that a director has is to try, it's kind of like when you put together these movies, it's like putting together a puzzle. And sometimes it's not as easy as working from the beginning onwards. Sometimes you have to work from the back to the front, and like you have to work backwards. And it's amazing how they do it. But there's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of drama, action, thriller, a little bit of horror, depending on how you perceive and look at things. But it really, it really, there's a lot of emotion as well. There's a lot of human emotion, and a movie that kind of makes you think a little bit. That's kind of nice. And I think that's what the director was trying to try to portray. The musical score, experimental band Sun Lux, known as their Oscar-nominated score for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, composed the film's score. It was recorded at London's Abbey Road Studios. The film was initially titled Thunderbolts, but the asterisk in the title was intentional, included to signify that the team was not yet the Avengers. So this led to like kind of the final reveal in the film where the team is introduced as the new Avengers. So you have to watch the film and then it'll start to kind of make sense. And if you've already seen the film, then you understand kind of what I'm talking about. So, what else can I tell you here? Everyone, sometimes, people watch these movies and they wonder who's next, who's going to die, who's going to, you know, there is a notable character that apparently has an unfortunate circumstance earlier. I don't want to give away too much. I'm just kind of looking at some of my notes here and trying to figure out what I want to say, what I don't want to say, because although this is kind of a review, I am going to give my opinion, so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. I don't want to give away the whole, I don't want to give away the entire sizzle and just leave you with the steak, so to speak, right? But the tone, the overall tone of the movie, the mood was kind of dark. And it has that comedic kind of element to it, that humor, which I saw from the trailers. And again, this is kind of where your traditional Marvel Avenger fan may look at this movie and go, oh, I wasn't here for comic relief. I want to see a movie based on, kind of like a serious, like in some kind of a serious type of fashion. And you will get that. You will get that, but there are going to be elements of comedy, and there's going to be some very dark kind of moods associated with that, but not in a very engaging way. But you have to you have to see it to understand where I'm coming from. Batman is kind of like one of those films. It kind of brings that moodish kind of dark kind of tone to it. The character, one of the biggest characters that I was talking about, played by Louis Pullman, Century, aka or Bob, aka Century. This character, I mean, absolutely incredible. I mean, the things that Century can do kind of makes you wonder if there's any Avenger that could even stand up to the likes of what Century is actually capable of doing. Kind of reminds me of like Superman, but there is a little comic kind of portrayal when it comes to Century, and there's a very dark kind of mood and tone associated with Century at the same time. But you will see some similarities between Century and Superman. But again, those are my opinions. I'd love to get your kind of thoughts on that. We talked about the new team name that's given at the end. So now this group is referred to as the New Avengers at the end. And that was kind of nice. Again, paying homage to the Avengers as well. And that also in itself is kind of a little funny, because then you've got the original Avengers group, and then you've got this new Avengers group. Now, how do they coincide? How do they work with one another? Are they against one another? Like, how does a Winter Soldier fall into all this as well too, right? So it's pretty interesting. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my opinion. Overall, I think the acting quality was on par. I think it was absolutely great. The acting is what keeps you in your seats. Okay, there's a lot of complexity and effort that went into producing and making this film, and as much as they wanted to show you the different kinds of elements, the humor, the comedy, the dark, and all of that, at the same time, they didn't just want this to be one of those movies that nobody actually talks about that really goes nowhere. I really think the way they were able to put this movie together, it's going to lead to bigger and better things for this particular group of Avengers and these superheroes. And I'm excited enough that I want to see the next one. So kudos to the production team, the producers, the directors, and all those that made this film. I think I think they did a great job, and all the actors obviously did their parts, and very, very good. The special effects. The special effects. Okay, so I didn't mind the special effects. Okay, personally, I wasn't expecting big special effects. Now, I don't think this was a movie where you needed that. I think this movie was there to tell you a story, to give you the beginnings, the foundation of what's to come. Therefore, the amount of special effects that was involved in the film was just right. I don't think they needed to do anything less. I don't think they needed to do anything more. I think it was just where it needed to be. Could they have improved on the special effects? I can't speak today, guys. It's early in the morning for me. Yes, they probably could have, but I mean, it served a purpose for what you see and what you get. It definitely served a purpose. So I find it to be quite acceptable. Going back to Lewis Pullman's character, the Century, when I was originally, I kind of made a reference to a pun, the Void. You guys have to. I'd love to get your opinions and thoughts on what you think of his character and what he was able to do and portray in the movie. I actually enjoyed the Century. I actually, and although this entity, this character seems to be indestructible, but like Superman, the Century has its own kryptonite. Not literally kryptonite, but there's always something that is the Achilles heel and could potentially be the destruction of all of these superheroes. And so it's interesting to see what the Century's strengths on one hand, and also to see the Century's weaknesses as well. So but I really enjoyed how they addressed the different personalities of Bob's character, and I think Lewis Pullman did a great job with being able to show and portray himself in different, perspectives. And I think that was great. The Red Guardian, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Guardian. I as I mentioned earlier, I think David Harbour did an amazing job as a Red Guardian, right? He's a kind of actor who could play a very serious role, and he could be very scary, but he could be very humorous at the same time. I could see the Red Guardian teaming up with the likes of Thor, one day, and or even the Hulk, and just to see that interaction would be quite comical, and I think that'd be kind of funny. He definitely made me laugh. So yeah, the acting was great, and at times kind of corny, but he brought that level of humor, that comedy and seriousness at the same time. I think that was great, and you got to see the different personalities, like the different emotions that the Red Guardian was kind of going through. So you're able to kind of piece together the Red Guardian story in the brief little time during this movie. The fighting scenes were pretty cool. And again, I think the special effects had a lot to do with that. They gave you enough to show to what they wanted to portray in the film, no less, no more, and I think that was just great. Some people argue the fact that there weren't enough fighting scenes. I think it was good. Again, if you have too much of one thing, it takes away from another thing, right? And I think the whole premise of this movie was to give you guys the story, to talk about this new Avengers and why and the purpose and all those things. So again, if you had way too many more fight scenes, it would have taken away from some of those other, value added elements that we would have potentially missed. So I'm fine with that. And from from a comic accuracy perspective, uh, I believe Century was referenced to some degree of accuracy, in the comics, which is good. They even made a joke about him in the movie, being kind of very comical in an accurate kind of way. So I think that was good. Now, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype on about this movie, and is like the Marvel series making a comeback with this film. Was that the idea? Is that what they wanted to portray? Is that what they were trying to achieve? That they used Thunderbolts as a means to be able to bring those audiences back into the fold of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hard to say. I think it was a great film, and if you want to call it a comeback, go for it. Whatever it is, I think it's great. I'll leave that to you guys and your opinion, but my overall opinion was I was excited. Okay. I've got into some debates with some other people. Some people found it to be very boring. They found it to be disengaging, and quite disappointing. On the contrary, I found it to be exciting. I found it to be a good story. I didn't know what I was getting into. I'll be frank, when I wasn't sure if I really wanted to watch this film, especially in the theater. I didn't know if I wanted to go spend my hard-earned bucks and go and watch this film in a theater. I didn't know if I needed that whole cinematic kind of feel, that experience being in the theater to watch this film. I could have just waited for this movie to come out and just kind of watch it, in the comforts of my own home. I'm glad that I was able to actually go out and watch this movie in the theater. And these kind of films are the kind of films that you need to go and watch them in a movie theater so you can get the full experience. And of course, with some good buttered popcorn. And I by the way, I watched my film at the Cineplex theaters, and kudos to the Cineplex team. They always make the experience and the ambience just right. So I had a great time. I went with my family, and it was a lot of fun. So in my opinion, I was excited with the movie. I was excited with the story, and I'm excited about what's to come. And the acting, as I mentioned, was spot on. I mean, the actors did a great job playing their parts and their roles, and I get it. Sometimes you're watching a movie and you're trying to still, like, if you still have to try to understand and figure out what the character is trying to do midway, partway into a film, that could be problematic. In this case, I knew right away, and I started to get it. And again, the actors did a good job from beginning to end with their acting. The special effects were great. We talked about that. And you know what? The theater that I went into was not empty, surprisingly. Again, I think a lot of people had the same kind of opinion as I did. There were other films going on in the movie theater at the time. I'm not going to mention which ones, but there was lineups. And so I was a little concerned. I thought, okay, we're going to watch this film. Just how many people are actually going to watch this film? Well, surprisingly, the theater was it was almost full. There was a lot of people there. And so it was good. And you know what? There was clapping. There was clapping at the end of the movie. And everyone, for the most part, stuck around for the full 3 minutes of the post-credit scenes. And there was clapping. And there was a lot of oohs and ahs when they released the little snippets at the end. Definitely a great experience. It was unforgettable. I had a great time watching this film, and I highly, highly encourage you to go watch this film if you haven't already. And again, it's something that, you know, definitely family friendly. So if you want to go with your family and then have a good experience and get some good buttered popcorn and some snacks, you guys are going to be in for a treat. So hope you guys enjoyed my review today of Thunderbolts and my opinions associated with it. Obviously, not everyone's going to agree with me, but if you guys like and hear what you see, please smash the like and subscribe, and stay tuned for some more upcoming movie reviews, and watch my channel. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you soon.